Hey Kelvin, do you understand this complaint?
Not really.
Of course you don't.
Wow, this one though.
Don't touch it, see, you almost made it slanted. Do you think this is an art museum?
Is it not?
Of course this is not. This is Legal Clinic LLC. And today we're interviewing a very, very special someone. Do you know?
No?
Don't know anything. It's Miss Kuah Boon Theng, and she's a senior counsel. Come follow me.
My name is Boon Theng. My full name is Kuah Boon Theng. So I was called to the bar in 1991, I think. What I'm known for mainly is in the field of healthcare law and ethics. Most of my clients are healthcare professionals and institutions like hospitals and so on.
What about medical law that actually drew you to the field? Because you were saying that you happened to chance upon medical law instead of starting out to be a medical lawyer.
I started off as a lawyer in the general litigation department of a big firm. And in my first couple of years of practice, I did everything. I did family law, probate, simple contractual cases for different clients. And I also did a lot of personal injury work, insurance claims. And looking back, I think that was quite a good grounding, okay, because early on in my practice, I was exposed, to quite a few things. I also had the time to pick up things like how to manage clients and so on. I left that firm probably when I was about 8 years in practice. At that time, I had 2 young kids, and I wanted the flexibility of having my own practice. But I was quite fortunate that eventually some of the clients that I had worked with before eventually came and were keen to use my services. So then I found out, since I was intending to be a small practice, and I had worked from the hospitals, and I just continued to focus on that area of practice moving forward.
That's really nice to hear. We want to ask, what is one very memorable medical negligence case that you have actually handled before?
The most memorable case that I've had to argue in court is the Hitchcock case with the Court of Appeal. Okay, so if you know your medical law in Singapore, Hitchcock is a great landmark decision of the Court of Appeal, in 2017, where we finally departed from applying Bolam for informed consent cases. Okay, and it was memorable because it was my first time arguing before a quorum of 5 Court of Appeal judges. So our Court of Appeal usually sits as 3 judges, and they only sit as 5 judges if it is a very important case, and they contemplate the possibility that they may be making new law.
Yeah.
So when we were told that there were going to be 5 judges, we kind of knew, we better work really hard, make sure that we are prepared to address any of the issues that the court may raise.
How do you overcome that hardship or that challenge actually?
With litigation, a lot of it is you just have to keep doing it. I think I remember when it was my first time in court, some of my friends and I, we were so nervous that we even went through our minds how we would introduce ourselves. So even things like that, you're uncomfortable, you're unsure, how to present yourself. But if you keep doing it, it just becomes a practice skill, and you get more comfortable, and then a lot of things come more naturally. Of course, there will always be moments where difficult questions are posed to you by the court, and you just need to take that moment and compose yourself, and run through your mind what you've prepared, how best to address that concern. But really, there is no other way but to keep getting, in the saddle and keep practicing, and honing your skills.
So could you share with us how you were able to convince clients to pursue mediation as opposed to litigation?
Right. Okay, so the first thing I would say is that in healthcare, mediation is now the dispute resolution mode of choice. And I think that my healthcare clients understand and appreciate why that is. What a lot of the parties in a medical case pride on is privacy and being able to sort out their problems without the glare of public scrutiny. Okay, and we often find that if we are able to get parties in a private setting and they are able to talk to each other, with the help of a trained mediator, there are lots of things that get addressed in the mediation setting that you will not be able to achieve in court. So just to give you a couple of examples. Sometimes in a healthcare dispute, it's not just about compensation, it's not just about money. The patient may feel genuinely upset and hurt by the way that their treatment has been managed, okay? And they may need to have closure, okay? So for example, some of these families have lost a loved one and they're very upset by the circumstances of why the treatment was not effective, in saving their family member, or had caused a complication that made, that basically accelerated the patient's death. So you have a lot of this sort of feelings. And then when you look at the doctor's side, a lot of the times they also need closure. Okay, they might have had a serious adverse outcome, and they may truly believe that they've done their best. And I've seen some doctors actually lose their confidence because they've had one bad complication, and they need also that opportunity to talk to the family members and or the patient and try to see if they can reach a resolution. Okay, not just financially but emotionally. Okay, so that everyone can move on. And mediation allows us to do that for a lot of these healthcare related disputes. A lot of people don't realize it, but for a lawyer like myself, going to court is the last resort. Sometimes you may win the case, but you still feel sorry for the other side, And if there is an opportunity to avert that and try to come to a closure or win-win solution for both parties, then we owe it to our clients to try our best to achieve that. I always tell my young lawyers, I don't know where you trained before. Perhaps you've gone to a firm where they are known for their very aggressive litigation skills, but it doesn't work in healthcare. In healthcare, you have to be very measured.
More empathetic.
You have to be empathetic. Even if you think that the other side's position is completely unreasonable, you have to go to the meeting with empathy, you have to listen, you have to realize that they need to be able to get certain things off their chest, and even though you think that what they're raising is not correct, you have to give that listening ear. Okay, if you have any hope of resolving it, you must at least show patience. And so it's a different skill set. Okay, so the challenge for lawyers who practice in my area is you don't just need to be good in your litigation skills, you also need to be good in your mediation skills, and they're different. Okay, it's a different. It calls on you, to pull out different skills.
We would like to ask, maybe for your legal clinic LLC, how was it setting it up, and as managing director, what are your aspirations for the legal clinic?
I was very happy practicing in a big firm for the first 8 years of my practice. I actually left and started my own practice because I was a young mother at that time, and I wanted the flexibility, I wanted the freedom of running my practice. I found out that actually if you run your own practice, eventually you are even more of a slave to your practice than if you work for somebody, right? Because not only do you need to manage your clients and do your work, you also need to deal with administration. You also need to worry about the business side of running.
By your own clients.
Yeah. But I will have to say that having gone through those difficult years, I wouldn't have changed anything. Okay, I love the freedom that I've had running my own practice. I spend a lot of my time teaching. I teach with a lot of the medical professional bodies, and also with some of our tertiary institutions, like the medical schools. I like the fact that I can decide how many hours I want to spend on CCA outside of work. I also sit on a lot of ethics committees, and all of this is on top of the full load of work that I do. I like the fact that I can can pick and choose my projects and what is important to me. So that has been really meaningful. I think after a while in practice, you realize that work is work, but you need to find something about practice that truly motivates you and you find meaningful. And that's what's going to give you the stamina to last in what is actually a very tough and grueling profession.
What do you actually have for the young lawyers out there who want to practice in the medical law field but not very sure, not very certain of what entails this field?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a good question, and I really don't have an answer that would fit everyone. Okay, and I think that's because you will find that very often what practice area you end up with is also dependent on the opportunities that happen to come along, right? You might decide, oh, I think I like the idea of doing this area of work. But when you do your internship or training, you might be exposed to a different area.
Yeah.
And then you realize, hey, actually I prefer this. Or, this is not bad. So don't make up your mind too fast about what it is that you like and what it is you think you're good at. Okay? In the early stages when you have the opportunity to do internships, try to get exposed to as much as you can. It will give you an idea of where you think you're best suited for. Okay, what practice area? Are you cut out to be a corporate lawyer? Are you cut out or you prefer litigation? Okay, try to decide first what kind of practice area you think you want to. Then you can talk about specialization later. So I guess the best advice I can give is don't be too worried, okay, if the opportunity doesn't present itself immediately to get exposed to practicing this area, right? Make the best of every opportunity you have and keep an open mind. And if you do get an opportunity to come back to medical law, great, but in the meantime, learn as much as you can so that by the time you come back, you have already got your basic legal skills, under your belt. You're already familiar with general, civil procedure, and then you can focus on learning a new practice area. I just want to wish everybody the best in whatever you pursue. I think this year has been really tough for students as well. So little interaction. I think the fun part of school is always being with your friends, and then now you get all the tough part of school but none of the fun, right? Because you're all studying at home and limited interaction. So hang in there. And for those of you who are studying overseas, one word of advice I would give is keep track of when the training contracts you need to apply for your contracts and apply for internships early. Sometimes firms are really fully committed, especially for my firm, we can't train that many per year.
Yeah.
So and even for the bigger firms, in this last couple of years there haven't been enough training contracts to go around. And what we then find is that the local students, all of them get places, and the ones who don't, some of the overseas students will apply late. Okay, so that's something you have to bear in mind. Whether you like it.
So do you have an internship deadline to apply for your firm?
We don't, but we've already offered training contracts for the year after next.
Wow.
Yeah, that's and some of the other firms are as well. So don't wait too long.
And of course, apply early, right?
Yes, apply early. Don't worry if it is not your first choice. Okay, just take the opportunities and learn as much as you can. I also advise for those of you who are still first year, second years, plan for your internships. Okay, a lot of firms are using internships as opportunities to assess whether they would be willing to offer you a training contract. So your entire internship is like an interview for a training position, you see. So a lot of firms are doing that, especially the smaller ones who don't have many places available. So, if even if it means you have to give up your holiday, just get out there.
And work hard first and then...
Yes, do as much as you can to put yourself in the best position.
Right, thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Kuah, for giving us really, really valuable advice and letting us to see more into the medical field.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so I hope you also enjoyed today's video.
No, wait, hang on. I really need to figure this out. I'm sure you're going to edit this out, but I tried. So I was called to the bar in 1991.
Do you think this is art gallery?
Is it not?
Of course not. This is legal clinic LLC.